I don't know if you know what masterclass is. Masterclass is basically this collection of lectures by experts in their respective fields. So think of this more as a buffoon class. And what I'm going to do is share with you how over the course of the last 25 years, 30 years really, actually probably more like 35 years, I've learned how to document my hunts and share those stories. And so how this all started, when I was a kid, it was my dream to either be an Alaskan hunting guide or have a TV show. You know, TV hunting shows were kind of new and rare back then. I thought, man, what a way to make a living. Well, my first ever hunt in Alaska, my client had a video camera. I was the packer. And so he would film the hunt. And then when it came time for him to shoot this bear, which was a gigantic bear, it squared 10'8", was like number 24 Boone and Crockett. But anyways, I filmed it for him shooting the bear, and then he took the camera back and filmed the rest of it. And so he had like 45 minutes of footage that he sent back to my parents while I stayed in Alaska for several more months, the entire summer and the fall. And then when I came back home that fall, my parents had farmed this video out to friends and family. And what I couldn't believe people were most intrigued by was the lifestyle. All the things that they can't grasp or comprehend, because they can see a bear mount, they can get an idea how big a bear is, but what is it like to hunt in Alaska? And then after that, after I watched that film myself, I bought my own video camera and started filming all my Alaska hunting adventures. So it was basically just home video that I was filming largely to bring home and share with my parents, but particularly my grandfather, who inspired me to go to Alaska but never got there himself. And so that's what it started as, was just home video, just trying to share with my family and friends what my Alaska hunting trips were like. And that's kind of my MO today. I want to film my hunting adventures and my experiences as raw and as candidly as possible. And what I'm slowly starting to believe, or what makes me most passionate and what I love about doing it, is I get to share my perspective, my personal experience through these films. And so that's probably what I'm going to focus on more, because I'm not an expert of anything technological. You're going to see that in these presentations. But how do you tell a good story, one that you're going to remember, one that other people are going to want to watch, and one that people are going to value and treasure? So that's why that's my motivation with sharing this for you, is filming and documenting your hunts is very challenging, but it's very satisfying and rewarding. And I think maybe above all else is as you hunt, you learn, right? But when you do through things, if you hunt through the lens of your hunting scope and then through the lens of a camera, it's quite different. You'll learn and grow in a lot of ways documenting your hunt that you might not as you're hunting. And I'll talk a little bit about that. So this is going to be probably like a 4-part series as to how to document your hunts for the intermediate hunt videographer and the novice. So right now in this section, I'm going to talk about the equipment that I use and how I use it. So this is key. If you're a hunter, particularly a hunter on the go, but if you're doing any kind of hunting, you need to be wearing your video camera right here, not on your pack belt. I'll put my GoPro and my still camera on my pack belt, but my main video camera needs to be right here. That's where I put it, just because of the waistband from my pack, so I have to put it right here. The reason being is because you have to have this thing with you everywhere. You have to have a camera with you at all times. It never fails. You go somewhere without a camera, something amazing that you'll never see again is going to happen. I use a very simple camera. This is a Canon Vixia HFG50, and I usually don't put this protective lens cover on it. I just leave it off. I've got a this you can't see through. This is, you have to take it off every time. I have a filter lens, basically just a clear filter lens to protect the actual camera lens. But I pull this puppy out, and I've got this strap very wide so I can fit a gloved hand through it, okay? That's key, because you never know, you know, hunting you're cold very often. As a default, and I basically always just leave it on autofocus. I keep it simple, okay? And magnification, you don't want to get into digital zoom. This is 20 power optical zoom. That's about max, because as you film your own hunts, you're doing a lot of it without a tripod, and so you need to have good image stabilization. Image stabilization is more important than your zoom power. When in doubt, back it off, particularly when you're filming offhand, because nothing is more distracting to a viewer than zooming in really close to something and shaking. You're better off coming back and have it more still and let the image stabilization work. On this camera, I have these mic muffs. They basically, you can tape them. They're made by Wind Cutter, which I don't know if they're in business anymore, but a guy can make his own if you can't find them. They basically just fit over the external microphone, and then I super glue them so they don't come off. Because I'm going in and out of the case very often, tape would fall off. I've used these for years. They work very well, particularly in Alaska. Obviously, it's very windy oftentimes. I don't use wireless mics because I want to keep it simple, and I'll touch on that a little bit as we go along. Everybody always asks how I film myself. I don't use a selfie stick. I just simply hold it like this and kind of lock my arm a little bit. I wouldn't say I'm too rigid. I bend my elbow a little bit. That's kind of my image stabilization, my shock absorber. But then I just rotate my torso so that I am staying basically the same in the frame at all times. Again, a selfie stick is just another thing. The more tools and gadgets that you have drives me crazy when I'm guiding hunters and they come up with all this crap that they saw on, you know, some hunting show, that, you know, you need all these trigger sticks and this bipod, and I got something to measure the wind, but you can't shoot more than 300 yards. I mean, get rid of the crap, simplify. When in doubt, simplify. And so particularly as you're starting out, keep it pretty simple. You might just start with a camera like this, you know, and a tripod, you know, just keep it simple. So in addition to carrying this all the time with me, is I also carry my Gopro. So this will be on my my pack, the waist belt of my pack at all times. So this one is a Hero 5. It's waterproof. I leave it in this head strap all the time. I'm actually producing a video now, call it a perfect hunt, where we're grizzly bear hunting and we're sneaking through the brush. We don't know where this bear is. Well, I can put this on and still capture it. I can't be filming, you know, stalking a grizzly bear when I can't see 10 feet. I mean, somebody's going to get killed there. So this thing is critical. I use it for that. I also use it in really harsh weather because it's waterproof. So if I'm trying to capture a rainstorm or a snow squall, I pull this baby out and I can stick it in the water, whatever. It's impervious to the elements. And so this helps me document, you know, these ever interesting and important facets of the hunt that with that camera I wouldn't want to, because I don't want to risk ruining it, particularly when I don't want to have to buy another $1,000 camera, which, by the way, you can get a good camera for $300-400 for, you know, just personal use. This is still considered consumer grade, this camera as well. But I don't want to ruin that camera for the money, but also because that camera, I bring 2 of them with me, has to last me several months in the bush, and I don't want to fry one. So these are invaluable. You can set these GoPros all over the place. You know, and film different angles and facets of whatever it is that you're doing. And again, so we're going to get a little bit more in depth on the how-to filming here. So I'm going to try to just stick with the equipment that I'm using. So The other thing that I always have on me, on my waist belt of my pack, is, I'll call it my scope cam. And it's basically just a still camera, which you can film through pretty much all of them nowadays. And so this camera is a Canon G9X. I got it from Reggie at Tines Up. He makes the scope cam adapter. And so this adapter is made for my spotting scope. So he's got the adapter epoxied onto the camera. And so I dial this on. Sometimes when I know the weather, it looks good, I'll just put the camera in like this. Oh, Scout's chasing a rabbit. Kind of embarrassing, to be honest. You know, here we are, modern day mountain man, how to film your own hunt. And then I got this, Scout is his name. He's a teddy bear dog, some crossbreed between a Bichon Frise and a Shih Tzu or a poodle or something. But he's actually a pretty good dog. He likes chasing squirrels and rabbits. My old lab passed, and I miss him. But Scout's a pretty good dog. Anyways, this camera is, it takes very good pictures, so that's what I use for my still photos. But then I'm able to simply friction fit it to the ocular of my spotting scope. Just like that, turn it on, and then I can film through it. This is invaluable for, I guess, what I'm doing for my skill, the types of hunts that I'm guiding. And if you're going out west, or even if you're sitting in a tree stand, I mean, get a camera arm or something like this. If you're using a spotting scope at all, definitely invest in a setup like this. Your videos will really come to life if you can get some good close-up footage with any type of setup, but that is very nice. Through my notes here. As far as batteries go, I just bring a lot of extra batteries with me. I've heard some people say they have good luck with the solar chargers. I've never had a lot of luck in Alaska with them. I've had hunters that have brought them, and they seem to be kind of a pain. Obviously, those they sell these battery packs that you can just plug into. Those are great, but that's what I use in the bush. I just get several batteries. So if you're going to do any, get serious about documenting your hunts at all, you're going to need at least 3 or 4 for sure. SD cards. If you watch any of my my videos, you'll hear me still call them tapes. The memory in the video cameras. I'm pretty old school. You know, I go back to like mini DV, and so I still call them tapes from time to time. So that's what I'm talking about. But I always get them from B&H Photo. Get them from someplace reputable. I do not trust the no-name aftermarket things on Amazon. You know, yeah, they might say SanDisk on them, but that's one thing you don't want to risk, not getting the best memory that you possibly can. So get them from a reputable source to make sure they're authentic. One other little tip that I find is handy for me, this isn't such a big deal for maybe professional producers, but I try to like to keep same subjects on certain SD cards. So whenever possible, I'll try to get a SD card big enough that I know will handle one hunt, and then film a hunt on that SD card and then switch. So sometimes that's not possible, but that is handy when you go back and try to organize your footage. So for tripods, spotting scopes, the bigger spotting scope you get, the obviously the better and bigger, stronger tripod you're going to need. This is a Swarovski 65mm objective. I used to have one with a 95mm objective. It was awesome in low light, but obviously it was very heavy to pack, and I'm not, you know, getting any younger. And so I sold that, and I just stick with the 65. This is all I use, and it works well. The only place I notice it is the lighting. You know, you gather more light the bigger objective you have. But now that allows me to use a lighter weight tripod. And so this is a Velbon, what? Ultra Maxi M, but the legs, they pull out quite long. I can, with this spotting scope, I can stand up and look through my spotting scope with the angled eyepiece, which, by the way, I really like. I much prefer angled over straight. I ran a straight eyepiece for years, and once I switched to angled, it took me about 2 days, and I knew that I would never go back. If you're deer hunting, obviously camera arms probably going to be something you're going to want to invest in. I don't have a lot of experience in those. There's lots of them out there, but like anything, I'm sure, you know, you're basically going to get what you pay for. So get a good one. You know, your film can only be as good as the footage that you're filming, and it's okay to have some bouncy footage once in a while. That's what I find. That's what I believe, my personal style. You can have some bouncy footage once in a while when you're on the go, and I think that adds realism. You know, that makes it raw and authentic, makes the viewer feel like they're there, but you can't have that all the time. You need some steady footage. B-roll shots, which we'll touch on in the next segment. So the wireless mics, I touched on that earlier. I don't use wireless mics. I just use my camera. That's it. What you see there, that's all I use. And the reason being is I'm filming clients. I don't want to be monkeying with batteries and, you know, you're changing layers all the time. If you're in a tree stand, not a bad idea to have wireless mics. But if you're on the go, I just don't bother with it, particularly when you start out. Keep it simple, keep it basic. There's other attachments for this GoPro, and I've kind of monkeyed around with them a little bit. About the only other thing that I'll do with this, sometimes with this strap, I'll wrap it around a tree, or I'll set it on my tripod once in a while. But I'll set it on things. This makes a nice stand right here, okay? But there's a lot of different attachments for GoPros, and I've tried and seen some of them, but I just find to just start with this, and then if you find you want to add some more on, by all means, go ahead. I'm just telling you what works for me. And again, in trying to simplify everything, what has been a huge benefit for me is range finding binoculars. So often me and my client, we'd sneak in on an animal. It's a band of rams, let's say, and there's 8 of them and only one of them's legal. I've got to constantly sometimes bounce back and forth between my binoculars, my spotting scope, and try to film and range the animal as it's moving and capture the hunt, and also tell my client which one is legal, which one he needs to shoot. So to eliminate one of those pieces out of the equation is huge for me. Range finding binoculars does that. It simplifies it. I don't need the rangefinder. I've just got one thing that I can judge and look at the ram and range them the same way. That's helped my filming tremendously because it allows me more freedom. Scout, come on! Allows me more freedom to film the hunt, or basically the kill shot, which is obviously important. So that is part 1 of the equipment that I'm using and how I'm using it. Feel free to subscribe, or sorry, feel free to, I'm fairly new at YouTube. Feel free to post your questions down below and I'll try to address them as best I can. Obviously, feel free to subscribe as well. Appreciate your support, and look forward to sharing some more tips with you and how I film my hunts here in parts 2, 3, and 4.